Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today is the first video in my series Communication, How to Avoid Medical Gaslighting. Before we get into this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, like this video, share the video, and of course you can also go follow me on my Instagram. That's also called The Art of Being Ill. If you have not watched my introduction video yet, I do recommend that you go back and watch that just to see what this series is going to be about. I will put a link for that right out here. As I mentioned last time, I am going to do some case studies where I'm going to take some people's stories about medical gaslighting and I'm going to evaluate them. If you have a story where you have been medical gaslighted that you want to share and that I'm allowed to evaluate on YouTube, you can send it to me in a DM on Instagram, The Art of Being Ill. So this first video is called Model of the World. We could also call this model point of view. We all have a certain way that we see the world and how we experience it. Whenever we are in a new situation, we think that we react to it as if it was the first time we were in this situation. However, this is not the case. The brain will always try to find a memory of a similar experience. So it doesn't have to be one-to-one the same experience, but something that is similar to the situation you are in now. And that memory of that experience will affect how you act and react in this new situation. As an example, if you have been at a doctor's appointment where you have been treated poorly and you have been medically gaslighted, when you have a new appointment with a new doctor, it might be a new doctor, so it's a new situation, but your brain will remember the doctor that treated you bad and gaslighted you. And this, if you're not aware of it, can really affect how this new appointment with the new doctor goes. Because you might already, before you go to that appointment, be thinking, doctors don't care about me. They're just going to medically gaslight me. I'm not going to tell them anything. I'm not going to be honest. And you might not even think about it. You might actually do it subconsciously. So it's really important to understand how we see things differently and be aware of how past experiences can affect how we act and react in new situations. So you might come into this new appointment thinking, well, I'm just going to be medically gaslighted anyway, whatever. But the new doctor's point of view, model of the world in this situation might be, I really want to help because that's what I do. I'm one of those doctors, right? I love helping people. That's why I became a doctor. I'm going to take this serious. We're going to get to the bottom of this. But your point of view is that you can't trust the doctor. You see how that's a bad situation to be in, where you are going to misunderstand one another. And that can lead to medical gaslighting, even though maybe that wasn't really the intention of either party. In this model of the world theory, we also talk about vague words. Vague words are words that are hard to define. It's often words like pretty bad, drink lots of water, the best painkiller. Because what does it mean to drink a lot of water? And how do you know what the best painkiller might be? So it's really important when you are communicating with a healthcare professional to not use vague words. Don't say you feel pretty bad. Be very specific what you mean when you say you feel pretty bad. Maybe you are dizzy. Maybe you are nauseous. Maybe you have a headache. Maybe you have lower back pain. Whatever it is, be very specific. Avoid using vague words. We also talk about intentional and unintentional omissions in this theory. Intentional omissions is when you leave things out of a conversation because maybe you are ashamed of it. Maybe you have a symptom that you feel ashamed of, so you don't feel like sharing it. Or maybe you don't trust your doctor, so you don't really want to tell them the most intimate details about yourself. Unintentional Omissions is when you leave something out of the conversation because you don't think it's necessary to share it. As an example, maybe you assume that a doctor specialized in bowel diseases knows what diarrhea is, so why go into details about what you are experiencing when you have diarrhea? In conclusion, when communicating, it is important to understand that we all have our own model of the world or our own point of view. We all experience situations differently. When communicating with healthcare professionals, remember they probably have a very different view of the situation than you due to their past experiences. Also, be aware of your own model of the world and ask yourself if it's affecting the way you're communicating with your healthcare professional. Also, do not use vague words. Be very direct in the way you communicate. If the healthcare professional is using vague words, ask them, what do you mean? Omissions can be a problem when you're communicating. Be aware of if you are leaving some things out and why. Avoid intentionally leaving out information due to your own model of the world. The information might be very important for further treatment. Also ask yourself, am I leaving out information because I assume that the healthcare professional understands what I mean? So this was the first video in my series, Communication, How to Avoid Medical Gaslighting. We talked about the model of the world. So if you want to do a little work on this theory yourself before the next video, I recommend that you think about what is my model of the world when it comes to my health and my healthcare professionals? How do I see it? Why do I see it? Ask yourself, what have I experienced that make me see it this way? And maybe think back on some situations where you're like, did I use vague words? Did I assume something about the doctor because of what I've experienced in the past? Did I intentionally or unintentionally leave out information that might have been important? And why, if you did, why? Why was it you felt you couldn't share it? This way you can be aware of where you're coming from in a doctor's appointment, and you can be more direct and be more honest maybe. By evaluating past situations, you can practice understanding your model of the world, understanding how do I actually communicate? Am I direct? Do I use vague words? And so on and so on. And this can help you in your further communication with healthcare professionals. So I do recommend doing that. So thank you so much for spending your time watching this. I hope it did something for you. I hope it helped you, and I hope you will check out my next video in my series, Communication, How to Avoid Medical Gaslighting, where we will talk about something as basic as how to listen. Have a blessed rest of the day, and I'll see you next time right here on my channel, The Art of Being Ill.